Welcome to TGIM, guys. Tonight we're going to be talking about priorities and why it's a good thing to know what your priorities are. And we're gonna cover a bit of stuff, and then at the end we're going to talk about how to actually make your priorities the priority, right? Because it's common sense, but it's not common practice. And I'll go through some examples in a little bit as well. But let's talk about what a priority is. And it's a real simple definition from Wikipedia. It's a thing that is regarded more important than others, right? And essentially the things, like Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. All right, meaning if you prioritize, like if you focus on negative situations, anything negative, you're going to add fuel to that negativity and it's going to grow. And negativity is purely a mental thing. I can tell you, like outside of your body, whatever the reality is, the reality of the world doesn't really care. So negativity or positivity is a choice that you have as a human being to execute, right? So it's whatever you're focused on. So you'll find that things like focus, priorities, attitude, they're all in the same dish, right? They're all the same type of thing, and they all intertwine throughout everything in your life. And really, your priorities is where you're going to end up, because whatever you prioritize you'll put energy into and you'll put focus into, and that will grow. So you have to make that choice of what you're going to prioritize. For me, there's 5 main areas in life, which are family, physical/health, your health goals, dropping weight, putting on muscle, getting over the flu, a whole range, recovering from a back injury, mental as well, which a lot of people neglect, which is the most important, because it kind of focuses back to priorities, right? And how you know what they actually are. Because I think a lot of the time with priorities, guys, it's more of an awareness thing. If you know that you're focusing on the wrong stuff and that it's giving it energy and it's growing negativity in your life and it's making your life, from a quality of life, actually decline, then, if we know we're doing that, it doesn't make sense to do it. So you're probably going to take action to be able to stop that. So mental's a really big one. The fourth one for me is career or money or business or financial health. Yeah. So we don't want to be stressing about cash. It's not everything, but I'm telling you, you'd prefer to be crying in a Lamborghini than in a 1985 Yaris or something, Corolla. And spiritual as well. So whatever that is for you. Doesn't have to be religion. Do you want me to spell it for you, Natasha?
I don't know where it came from.
We all got shaky hands from BoxFit from you guys who come down. So for me, your priorities are like and your focus is like the best analogy we can use is like a GPS, right? And it's kind of like the same towards goal attainment, where if you're focused on something, it mightn't be a straight line approach, but you always have that endpoint in mind. So you might be prioritizing your health at the moment and you want to lose 20 kilos, for example. So all the action, like if that's a real priority for you, all the actions around what you eat throughout the day and what you don't eat, probably more importantly, if you work out, if you drink lots of water, if you smash your nutrition program, all of these things will come into line. But if it's not a priority, then it's easy to make excuses. You'll go, I'll start Monday when it's Wednesday, or one beer won't hurt, and then all of a sudden you're at the pub until 3 a.m. Guilty. Whatever it may be. If it's not a priority for you, you won't make those decisions, those little choices. And they're only little choices. There's only a few real big choices that we have in life. to be honest, that govern our life, like having kids. That's a big choice. It's a big time commitment. Getting a puppy, that's another one. No, it's not really. Like buying a house. I'm just saying that because we just got a puppy. Or maybe investing a massive amount or a large chunk for you right now that causes you lots of stress into a business, for example, like buying a restaurant, investing 100K in something that's a 80% chance of failure. That's stressful. So these type of things, your GPS or your focus priorities will govern, how smooth that road is. And the thing is, when we've got actually worthwhile goals, guys, it's not going to be a straight line. All change is messy. All change is difficult. All change is hard. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called change. It wouldn't be called the getting uncomfortable if it was comfortable, right? Because when you spend enough time in the being uncomfortable, it becomes comfortable, and it's your new normal. It's your new priorities. And your priorities will set what's actually comfortable and uncomfortable for you. So just realize when things get hard and you've just made something a new priority in your life for any of those areas and things are a little bit hard, it's normal. Because I think we find resistance to change not normal, so we go back to our old habits because it's a little bit hard and we might last a couple of days, but unless we're changing the governing thing, which is your priorities, right? You're not going to be able to keep that sustained change, because if it's not a priority for you, you might last a week and then you'll be slipping back into those old habits because, it doesn't really matter. So what we need to do as human beings is actually write down what matters to us and what we want. And this kind of governs into the last bit, right, that we're going to talk about. And a lot of people don't do that. When was the last time, guys, we wrote down what we actually want for our lives? Like, people build a house, they make a plan. They write down, they talk about what they want in the house. For me, it'd be like a sick-ass bathroom. I'm like this bathroom junkie guy. I won't accept a house with less than 2 sinks. Or whatever it is for you, you might be like, we need a pool or a hot tub, non-negotiable, or I don't know, maybe your thinking isn't as big and you're like, we need 2 bedrooms or whatever it is, right? Whatever that is going to govern that choice. So what I suggest you do as well, just before we talk about how we can actually use the priorities that we make to our advantage and figure out what they are, is find something for you that ticks multiple boxes at once by taking the action. I think it's such a stronger thing. Like, for me, the reason why I love the business that we're in is it prioritizes for me, like the action I take towards all the things that are priorities to me is achieved through growing my business. So, for example, family. We make new family every day down here at the Albury Lifestyle Centre community, for example. So that box is ticked for me, right? Like from an actual family point of view, that's probably limited. But from a Herbalife family point of view, not limited. Like, that's all around the world. It's just a matter of where you go to meet people, okay? And especially local to our direct family. So that box is ticked for me. That's why I love it. Physical and health. Well, we're in health and nutrition, live a healthy, active lifestyle. So that's an obvious one, tick. Mental health. We talk a lot and just mindset. And that's the 100% of our 80-20 philosophy, right? So that's a tick for me. Like, before Herbalife, I wasn't doing any personal development at all. Now at least do 15 minutes a day. At least. But more importantly, you take actions that stretch the boundaries a little bit and make things difficult to get you in that uncomfortable state. Yeah? Whereas if your mindset isn't on, you're going to get to the border of being comfortable and uncomfortable, and you're going to be so repelled by the potential difficultness of actually being uncomfortable and how weird that is. You're so not mentally ready. Like, that's a mental hurdle that you overcome. It's not a physical thing. Because remember, like, we've all coaches on the call, for example, and maybe we've been here and all. We've been here ourselves. Like, from a physical perspective, when we really want to get crazy results, it's here. It doesn't matter the situation. Like Meg's a really good example. She's in Europe traveling around, lost 6 kilos because it was here. So it's the most important thing. So that's why I really love the community here. Career and money, well, obviously, the extra 45 grand a month has helped me in that perspective. So give that one a tick. Also the recognition as well. And spiritual, getting texts from clients and members saying, you've changed my life, or I feel great, or I've dropped a couple of kilos, thumb up, that type of thing. Like that floats my boat. I'm not religious, but that type of thing, that's what actually ticks that box for me. So for me, it ticks all the boxes, but you've got to find that thing for you and what can tick multiple boxes for you. Because working at one thing at a time, there's only so much time we have in the day, but what you will do is use the time that what's a priority to you. And I just had a chat to Wes and Tash when they were leaving. I was like, wouldn't my physical health be so much better if I just prioritized 10 minutes or 15 minutes on the foam roller and just stretching out every night just while I'm, just before bed or something like that. But I don't do it because it's not a priority to my health. So I need to make that a priority. So I actually do that every night, and then I won't be bloody at the physio every couple of times a month, wasting $80 for little niggly injuries that I know if I leave them won't fix themselves. When you get past 30, it's all downhill. I'm telling you guys, if you're in your 20s and you're struggling already, you're in deep trouble. So just a couple of quotes I want to leave you guys with. But number one, it's from Gandhi. It's about priorities. Is your actions express your priorities. So there's no truer reflection of what your priorities are than looking at your actions. And like from a coach mentor perspective, like we work with people on their actions because that's what governs their priorities. Like for example, a lot of people here are in the business. So we have a training event coming up, right? It's called the SDS. We have to get up early, it'll be a long day. They probably have to get the kids looked after and all these things. So if that's not a priority for you, that's too hard, right? And the people that say it's too hard, they're not ready to take that next step. But the people that say, hey, I'm willing to actually make the sacrifice for something that's a priority for me because this might actually tick these boxes for me, then they're the people we work with because they're the ones that are willing to put in the effort. So your action, effort and action is the same thing. So your action expresses your priorities. Another major one that I guess is just a thought before I leave you with the game changing one that's going to fry your circuits is things that matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter least. So I'll say that again for you guys. Isn't it funny how a few cleverly crafted words can just change a little bit of thinking? Isn't that funny? When I read this, I was like, that's a good way to say it. It just kind of stimulates those thought processes that flow on throughout the rest of our body and into our energy. So things that matter most, never be at the mercy of things that matter least. Sorry, things that matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter least. But the problem is a lot of us have that flipped. We start doing the shit that doesn't matter first all day. It takes up a majority of our time. And then the things that are actually going to move us towards our goals, we just don't do because maybe they're just not our priorities. Or maybe we just aren't programmed to put our priorities first. Well, we have that energy to do it and to get into that regular routine of that as well. But, the governing thing of what we're saying here is to change your life, you need to change your priorities. Or maybe develop some. Because we probably all have them, but when we write them down, we're like, whoa, that's why we're way off. And generally, if you looked at your average day and you're like, okay, what do I actually spend my time doing? That's going to tell you what they are. So if you're not happy with that outcome, if you look at that and go, okay, well, fast forward 5 years from now, if I keep doing this day and having these priorities, where am I going to be? If you don't like the outlook, like if you're looking at that and going, well, I want to be here, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Like a lot of people are waiting for waiting for something. I don't know. I was definitely in that boat. Like I was waiting for something to miraculously happen in my life so I could live the way I wanted to live it. And then you come to that realization that you actually have to check out. You have to search for opportunities to find them. They're not going to find you and say, "Hey, hello, I'm here." And even if they do that, if you're not looking, you won't find them, right? So firstly, you've got to actually be open to it. But what we're going to talk about now is how to actually. So hopefully, we've answered some pretty deep questions, like what our priorities are, and maybe review our day and say, okay, well, what are our priorities? Are they moving us towards our actual goals? If not, let's make a few little tweaks and give ourselves a little 30-day challenge of, I guess putting a bulk of our time into the things that are actually going to move us towards our goals. And I don't mean, like, for example, if your priority right now is losing 20 kilos, I don't mean that you go for a 10-hour walk every day, because you still got to live and do your things, right? But you can definitely, do those things every single day that are going to move you towards your goals. So what I highly suggest you do, it's a very, very simple technique that we talk about all the time. I know some of the coaches do it on the call, not all. Some do it every second day, third day, once a month, probably on the second if they've had a crap month, or the first. But what I suggest we do is we figure out what our priorities are, okay, or what our goals are, and boil that into our priorities, and then write an imperative list. So what you'll find if you study successful people around the world is they have like a list, right? They do every single day. Grant Cardone writes down his goals every morning to set his focus. Every single morning, writes down his goals. And what you do when you do that is you become so accustomed to your goals that they tend to grow a little. So eventually your goals become massive and you're writing them down every day. It's setting your intention for the day, so you're moving towards them. Like I'm talking these long-term goals, like have $1 billion in property and stuff like that. So what I suggest we do is maybe write them down. But if that's too much for you to start with, let's go back to writing down our important and imperative list, which looks like this. So one of the kids has drawn this piece of paper. It might have been me. No, it wasn't me. That's what I do when the camera's on and you guys are watching. I'm drawing pictures and stuff, so it looks like I'm taking notes. Jokes. So it kind of looks like this, right? It's so simple, such an easy thing to do and such an easy thing not to do. Like a lot of the things that we don't do that we should, that's going to move us towards our goals that we don't, and we're going to do it tomorrow, but we don't, right? So right on your imperatives, what I want you to write down are things that are going to move you towards your goals. So if my priority at the moment was a physical type of thing, I'd write some type of workout in there. And you can do this the night before. I like doing it when I wake up, to be honest, when I'm fresh. If I do it the night before, I'm like, my brain's fried. I'm operating at about 50%, I reckon. And it just doesn't work for me. So I like doing it after a sleep when I wake up. And it's just dot points, guys. Like for me at the moment, it looks like workout and whatever that workout is for the day. Because you kind of have a idea of your day, especially the morning of, right? So I'll have things in my calendar. I'll look through. I'll go, I can make that workout. I can't. Okay, I'm going to go to the gym or whatever it is. So I write workout in there. Then I write nutrition in there, for example. And I'll write my protein goal. I write how many shakes I want to have, and tabs and ghrelin just happens now. So I don't even have to write down those things anymore because they're habits, right? So if you write these things down long enough, they become habits, and that's when your priorities have changed. Then I'm going to write down some type of PT, yeah? And that could be 15 minutes when I'm in the car, or that could be 30 minutes when I'm driving the boys around, or that could be an hour when I'm walking around, maybe doing letterbox flyers and trying to get some cardio in at the same time and just get some sunlight on the skin, fresh air in the lungs. It's always a healthy thing rather than kind of sitting in front of the computer trying to do these ones all day. Also gives you time to think, and it stimulates good thoughts and all those type of things. So I like doing that as well. And then what I'll do, guys, when I'm walking, and then I'll have my business things. So maybe follow up with X, Y, and Z. So my clients that are due for that day, and then I'll have like all the work stuff that I know I have to do first. Because sometimes when we're self-employed, like some of us are, we don't actually employ ourselves. I know, I'll say it again. Sometimes when we're self-employed, like a lot of us are, we don't actually employ ourselves. We just kind of go with the flow. And then we get go with the flow results because we're not prioritized, right? So I write down the things I want to do from a business perspective, things that I have to do that day, like I might have a dentist appointment, like that type of stuff. And then I'll just cross them off throughout the day, but I'll do those things first that aren't time-based. Like obviously a dentist appointment, if it's at 3 p.m, when I go, I'll cross it off. And then in the important side, this side, is all the crap that you kind of need to do, but you don't really have to do. It's not urgent, imperative, things that will be very bad if they don't happen before midnight at night. And your imperative list, guys, the trick to that is don't make it too big. Because what you'll do is it'll just stress you out and then you'll stop doing it. So, have it really focused to what your goals are. And then on the important list, have things like get the car serviced when it's due, and it doesn't really have that happen today. Maybe next week's okay, or make an appointment, or whatever it is. Or it might be for me, for example, I need to call my accountant, for example, but it doesn't really have to happen. I just need to book an appointment so I can catch him before the end of financial year, right? So that type of stuff. They're the things that go on my important list. And what you'll find is when you churn through this and you're sitting there and go, okay, I need to do this, and you're crossing things out. And obviously nutrition, that's a daily thing. So that's an end of the day cross out. And they're probably the most satisfying. Or working out, cross that out. That was hard. That was good. Cross that out. You'll find that you create the sense and the energy that you're a winner, because you small little win, 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 and then all of a sudden you're in your attitude, which is tying into your focusing your priorities. You're a winner, and then you'll find that, hey, actually being uncomfortable isn't that bad. Like, let's keep pushing these boundaries. Let's push them back, push them back, push them back. And I'm telling you guys, if you do this for 90 days, you're going to be so much closer to your goals than you are right now. It's going to be crazy. It's really a state of being prioritized. And the difference between highly successful people and normal people, like Cole says on a few of her TGIMs, the time difference between the beggar and the billionaire is exactly the same. There's still 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. The only thing that changes is how highly prioritized people are. And the only difference between the beggar and the billionaire is they're very highly prioritized. They're not going to waste a second on shit that doesn't matter. They're going to put all their energy in the things that do. Yeah? So negative things, okay, yeah, you got to deal with them, but they're not getting any extra energy than what they need. They might just require 5% energy, 5% energy. A lot of us spend all day on that shit, and it goes around and it wrecks our day, right? It's kind of like, from a health coach perspective, we get clients, they might have a bad meal. They might have a bad meal, for example, and they turn into a bad weekend. And there's so much more damage done on the weekend, right? Than if you just go, oh, nah, that was naughty. Okay, let's clean these things up and finish the weekend really strong. So it's totally different mindsets, totally different priorities. If something's a priority to you, it can't wait. There's a sense of urgency behind it. Okay. So, guys, that's it. I'm going to open this up to questions. You guys.
Can you ask a question for my people to their detoxes?
So, for the guys that are in the current 10-day detox, I have to ask you a question to see that you've watched this. And I'm going to ask you, what are the 5 areas of life that we went through before? So it means you have to you can't just be skipping through, right? Hopefully, unless you're a real good skipper like me. Jack's giving everyone waves here. It's like the cheerleader, TGIM. All right, guys, we're going to open this up for questions, and then we're going to bin. Hopefully you guys got some value out of that. If there is any questions, we'll definitely answer them. Don't stress. If you think of one later, what we're going to do is actually upload this into Empire Squad results via a YouTube link. So you can do one or two things. Number one is if you think someone would benefit from hearing it, you can send it to them. Say spend 28 minutes watching this. And on the other hand, if you think of the question, you can write it in the comments. We'll just give it another 30-ish seconds. I don't want to get someone mid-question because that would be rude. So on the call, Adriana, Emma, iPhone. I wonder who iPhone is. In the mystery. Jane, Karen, Julia, Matthew, Megatron, Nick's iPhone. I wonder if Nick's on as well. Robin, Shana, and Tash. So, Megatron just wrote, how many things would you put on your imperative list? You know, like for actual appointments, I put them on there. But outside of actual, because you're going to have to go anyway, but outside of actual appointments, no more than 8. Like if you find it really long and you don't get through it, like this is your stuff that are non-negotiable for that day. Like you are not going to sleep before this happens. And being really strict with yourself. I think Maddie's writing a question. Or she's checking Facebook. One of the two.
You know how you said that Grant Cardone writes his goals every day?
Uh-huh.
If you were to do that, how many goals would you write? Like I get that it's his long-term goals, but you don't want to be there for an hour writing down goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like would you?
I'd write down the goals that are super important to you. Because they're the ones that are going to fuel you anyway. Like things like, you know how we have really serious, big long-term goals that inspire us? They're the ones I'd write down. And the ones that don't really inspire you, like lose another 2 kilos, maybe just write down the end one instead in between. So it should kind of condense them. So Tash just asked, guys, if you guys didn't hear, you know how she said, what did you say again? What goals would you write down? So I mentioned Grant Cardone writes down his goals every single morning. And on every audio I've listened to, he says this as well. He writes down his long-term goals and the ones that really inspire him. So you'll find if you're just writing down your long-term goals, then there won't be that many. So she was like, do you write down all of them or what? So just your long-term goals, the end game, what it looks like. And ones, if they don't inspire you, you need to up them to a point where they inspire you. Because that's the point, right? Like it realigns your focus, it puts them in the front of your mind first thing in the day. And then when you're writing out your imperative list, it's going to be goal orientated. Like okay, so what today is going to help me achieve this down the track? Does that make sense? Because realistically, guys, being between where you are now and if you have really predetermined worthwhile goals to you, it's not going to be happening by the end of next week, is it? So if we're taking little steps towards them every single day, and by the way, if we're changing 0.03% of a person towards our goals every single day, then we're a completely different person in a year. what you are now? So yeah. So hopefully that answers your question, Tash, as well. But she literally asked it the same as you. You guys have like ESP or something.
She wants to be me.
She wants to be okay. Should see her face.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, if we're all up on the questions, I'll upload this into Empire Squad results. If you have any questions in hindsight, you can send them to me directly if you want. If you're too embarrassed to ask, more than happy to chat to you guys. Or whack them in the comments, or send this to someone that you think needs to hear it. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.